people finding out I'm more. Tell your story. Tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. Can't nobody tell a better pain of glory. So tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. Better you the people finding out I'm more. So tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. Can't nobody tell a better pain of glory. So tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. Better you the people finding out I'm more. Tell your story, man.
All right.
Yes, today we have the wonderful Tabitha. Here she is with her beautiful self. She is one of my close friends, and she's one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Let her tell her story today.
Yes, indeed. Just before she gets started, sorry, Tabitha. If we have any questions, please use the clap emoji or the hands emoji. Yes, please remain respectful of her time. And then, yes, the floor is yours.
All right. I hope everybody's doing good out there. My name is Tabitha Sarai by Israel. I was born November 24th, 1994, to a woman named Sophia Smith. My father's name is Sylvester Williams. Okay, so where do I start? Okay, so I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. To I was my mom's firstborn child. I was my father's last baby. So I'm the youngest of his and the oldest of my mom's. And, my sister got like a middle child syndrome in a way. I don't know how that happened, but it did. I want attention and I constantly didn't get it. And then I'm the leader. Weird things that happened to me. But let me see. Where should I start? So I guess I'll start with like me being 5, and a lot of people can't think that far or remember that far back, but for some reason I can, you know. Kindergarten was great. It was all Gucci and stuff, but I was really sad when I had to leave my parents. I did not want to do that. I was crying and I was just did not want to, part from my parents. And it's for that reason why I kind of wish I was homeschooled, because that detachment thing is real. And I don't know, it was just a lot for me to take in. And there's a lot with me personally. I went to like a majority white school. There was a lot of Mexicans, but at this time, there was just no unity. We didn't really realize that we were both being oppressed. So they were oppressing me, and I'm just kind of like, why are y'all doing me like this? I love y'all, but like that. So I went throughout elementary school being called nappy camper because, as you can see, I got woolly hair. My hair is woolly. And so I got called nappy camper, negrita. Da, da, da. They came for me, y'all. They really, really came for me. And today it's crazy because now, like, I'm so down for my black and brown brothers and sisters. That's crazy. And even the black dudes, okay. So it's me and my sisters making like some of the only black kids at this school. And there were 2 black dudes, Jimmy and William. Jimmy and William loved to clown on me. They came for me constantly. And it was just a mess. It was a whole hot mess. And I was hurt by this. So fast forwarding, I'm in high school. We done moved to Alabama. And that was a weird experience because I've never seen so many black people in my whole life. I'm just like, there are a lot of black people. I was culture shocked, y'all. Culture shocked. Even in my family, I didn't even see that many black people in my family, as many black people as I seen in Alabama. And that's where my great grandma's from. Yeah. So in high school, I was a part of ROTC. I don't know if y'all know what that is. It's like a military style curriculum, trying to move up the ranks and stuff of that nature. Yeah. And then I graduated high school. Well, first of all, before I even get to high school, when I was in the 11th grade, 11th grade, like that pivotal moment in everybody's life. My pivotal moment was my great grandmother died in Arizona. And so as we were driving from from Alabama to Arizona, our tire exploded in El Paso, Texas, and our car was flipping multiple times, and it threw everybody out the car except for my mom and her boyfriend. My mom ended up dying on impact. I ended up breaking my neck, fracturing my spine. I broke my pelvis. I had a brain injury. I was in a coma. It was a horrible experience. I had to learn how to read, write, walk, talk, do everything all over again. I had to go through physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. um I'm not 100%. Occupational therapy is just showing you, like, reminding you how to operate in life, how to use the bathroom, how to do this, how to, what your 1, 2, 3s are, like literally learning everything all over again, how to write your name, stuff like that. So that happened. And then maybe when I was in maybe like a year, almost a year later, um, I learned how to walk again. I was back on my feet. And maybe like another 6 months after that, I ended up going back to school. I graduated on time. It was a struggle though, because school is just school's not easy already, but then you throw in that extraness of, okay, you have a brain injury, so it's hard for you to remember stuff. Two, you don't really have any support. You're living with your foster parents, aka your cousins. Like, it was all traumatic. But I pulled it together and I ended up graduating high school on time. Um, just kind of fast tracking a little bit more. Uh, I don't know. It was like that whole time, like college and high school. I went to community college, and okay, Janice, you got a question?
Yes, I do have a question. So my question is, throughout all that trauma of like seeing your family, your parents and stuff die like that, did you ever have like reoccurring dreams or reoccurring memories of that event?
So it's crazy because yes, but it will all be fictional, because our car accident happened in the daytime, but every time I dreamt about it, it would be happening at night. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like your brain, your brain, like, so deep down inside, like, I remember what happened. But your brain, when something's so traumatic like that, your brain suppresses the memory and it manifests in a different way. So like, I was remembering what was going on, but like, I didn't remember what was going on. People ask me now, do I remember anything about that car accident? And I don't remember nothing. My sisters, on the other hand, they remember stuff. So I don't know what kind of trauma they're going through, but yes, it's traumatic. And I don't know. Mark, what's your question, Mark?
So my question was, how long were you in the coma for? And then how long did
Uh,
you last?
huh? How long was I in my coma and what?
And then how long did your therapy last? As far as like regaining your, I'll say speech because I'm most familiar with that.
Okay. So I was in my coma for like 3 months, and my brain injury was so severe that if I would have woken up, my brain would have swollen and it would have killed me, because your skull's only so big, and the trauma from the actual head injury itself, my brain, I don't know if it's oxygen or whatever, but my brain would have swollen and it would have killed me. I don't really have any like medical term for it. I know I had I had a contusion, which is like your skull is crushed in, like you have a you know how, like, when you squeeze a water bottle and you let it go and there's like little marks in the water bottle, like that's like little punctures in the water bottle. That's what happened to my brain. Like, my skull got crushed and there was a marking on my skeletal, and it impacted my brain. So my brain at that point it was injured, and if I would have woken up, it would have just swollen and it would have just killed me. As far as like therapy is concerned, I was in physical therapy for like a year. I would say a year, like 7 months to a year. Like I said, I did it. I couldn't walk anymore. So like I went from when I was in what is it called? Intensive, the ICU. When I was in the ICU in the hospital, they taught me how to walk with a first they were teaching me how to use my wheelchair with my arms. I eventually built up enough strength to where I was able to start using a walker, and the walker, like moving my legs more and stuff, you know, it was good for me. But then when I got out of the hospital, my cousin and his wife, they wanted me to stay in a wheelchair. They wanted me to stay in a wheelchair because at the time I didn't know what was going on with there was like some type of case that was going on, and they were suing the people, the manufacturers of my mom's car, and the people that made the tires. And so in order for them to get more money, they try to keep me in a wheelchair. But yes, they were required by the state to take me to physical therapy. But as far as like actually wanting me to walk, they didn't want me to do it. They're like, stay in the bed, stay in the wheelchair. If you get up, blah, 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 blah. But when everybody was gone and it was just me at the house, I would be on the side of the bed doing like squats with the air, like holding the rail of the bed and doing squats. Because with a brain injury, it throws off your coordination. So like I could kind of dance before my car accident, and now I can't dance at all. So it's just like, the struggle's real. So yes, they took, and I was in therapy for like a year, 7 months to a year. Any more questions?
And you finished high school. That's my final question. On
Yes,
time?
I did. Yes, I did. I finished high school. And I graduated on time. That's the main thing. And I also went on to go to college. So that kind of is a good segue. So I graduated in 2013, which is the year I was supposed to graduate. And then oh, and it's crazy because even when I was in high school, okay, so my cousin decided that they didn't want me and my sisters anymore. My cousins decided, what did you learn about people from your accident? Oh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. So the main thing that I learned about people from my car accident is that people will only do things for you when it benefits them. Like even my aunt was like the closest to kin to get me and my sisters. And she decided she didn't want us. She specifically didn't want me because if she would have gotten me, that means that she would have to, you know, pick up more responsibilities, taking me to and from my therapy, you know, teaching me how to walk, being there for me, catering to me. My sisters, for the longest time, they were giving me baths and stuff like that. I know that that's not something that they wanted to do because they were my little sisters, but they did it. My aunt, on the other hand, she did not want any parts. She didn't want to deal with that. She didn't want to deal with it at all. So it's really sad. And I'm sad to say, like, you learn people's true colors when you're down and out. That's the truth. Like when you go through things, people, you see who people really are. And you know, I don't know. It takes you, a sister said something to me and she was like, you never know what kind of friendship you're going to have with someone until you go through something. And that's crazy because I've seen that with my family. I seen what kind of relationship we were going to have based on how they treated me when I was going through stuff. So yeah, that was a good question. People show their
a question too. If I'm
Who?
sorry, I didn't cut you off.
Go ahead.
G?
Do you and your sisters talk about the trauma you guys have experienced?
Not really. At one point, yes, we did, but because of like, you know, foster care and everything that came with that, we were forced to have to move on a lot faster than we should have. That trauma, it never really got addressed. We never got counseling for it. We never got the proper therapy that we needed for it. Even now, like we don't talk about it. It's not something that we talk about. Yes, we talk about, yeah, we miss our mom, and you know, it's a sad thing that she's not here. But as far as like talking about the actual event itself, it's we don't talk about it like that. Mm-mm. But yes. Okay, I guess I will kind of move on from there. Like I was saying, I was in high school. I was going into my senior year. Finally, like my cousin was like, "We're sick of y'all. Y'all move back. Y'all can move and live with y'all daddy." So this is my stepdad. This is the man that my mom married. That we ended up. He got out of prison and he was willing to take care of me and my sisters. So we ended up moving from Alabama back to Arizona. And in Arizona, like I'm like, I had to beg, like literally beg to go back to school. Like that, it just doesn't make sense as to why I would have to beg for permission to go back to school. Most people don't want to be at school. I wanted to be there and they wouldn't let me go. But finally, my dad was like, yeah, you could go. And so I was like, I was looking at as many credits as I had missed up from my accident up until like halfway through my senior year. And I was talking to, I was like, I need to go to some school to where I could get like my credits faster. And my dad was like, okay, you could go to this alternative school. This alternative school, y'all, there was a metal detector going into the school. There were people with ankle bracelets on. My cousin Aaliyah went to school together because she was what some people would call a bad apple or a sour apple. I don't know, a bad apple. So we ended up at that school. I met some people that I like. I don't really talk to them like that anymore, but these people were in my life for a long time, and I met them at this school. It's crazy because, like I said, you really know what kind of friendship or relationship you're gonna have with someone based on the stuff that you go through together. So we were all up in this school that felt like a prison. It literally felt like jail. You're getting scanned and just all that. But anyway, so it's about time for me to turn 18 while I'm in this alternative school trying to get my credit so I could actually graduate on time. And my dad's like, okay, so you're about to be 18 and I don't know what you're gonna do, but basically you could go anywhere but can't really stay here. So I moved from Arizona back to Alabama because I knew a lot of people out there. That's where the root of my family was at. So I went back to Alabama and I got back into high school. All praises to the Most High. But I got back into, what did it say? Okay, she said, what would your advice be to those that have lost their parents and how to overcome? Okay, that's a really good question. She's asking good questions. So honestly, the best thing I would say for people that have lost their parents is to endure. That's the main thing, because when you lose the people that kind of gave you a purpose and to be on this earth, and they're like kind of the foundation of your happiness, regardless of all the things that you may or may not be going through, it makes you feel really alone. I felt alone for a long time. I felt numb. But the thing is, you have to look for reasons to live. My sisters, they were my reason, because at the end of the day, if I would have died, if I would have died, there would have been no real hedge of protection for them. So, me being the oldest, I had to, do to that we had food, water, shelter, things of that nature to try to fend for my sisters. So that's the thing. When you lose both of your parents or any of your parents, you have to find a reason to keep yourself going, basically. I don't know if that made sense, but yes. Janice, you got a question? Okay, that's a no. Let me see what the other question is. Did you hang or get influenced by those kids in the alternative school? Woo, that's a good question. No and yes. No and yes. Because, okay, so I decided I'm not going to smoke weed. I'm not going to go out like that. Because at this time, when I was living with my dad's family or my stepdad's family, there were some like real deep Christians. Like we went to church every Sunday, every Bible study, all that stuff. And mind you, my mom was not religious like that. I mean, yes, she believed in God, so to speak, but she didn't go to church like that. So when I got into this family, we're going to church. We have to not really dress modest because that was not, no, it wasn't, it didn't really change my life in that sense. But like we would constantly be in church, hearing the word, you know, so on and so forth. Um, I don't know. Hold on. Give me 1 sec. I gotta revisit the question, girl, because I kind of got off topic. Okay, so they didn't get the chance to influence me because my stepdad and them, they didn't let us go anywhere like that. We weren't allowed to go to parties, weren't allowed to go outside. Well, we were allowed to go outside, but not like that. Not hanging out at all times of the night. So at the end of the day, like my dad's family being religious kept me out of harm's way as far as being influenced by those that would have been bad influences in my life at that time. Because like I said, a lot of times people look for something to numb them, and at that time, because of where the depression and like the sadness and the thirst for something to just be a distraction, if my parents parents wouldn't have been strict on us, then it would have been super easy to be influenced by those people. But when I ended up moving, and here's where it kind of, where the influence did hit me. When I moved back to Alabama, my godmother, who I was living with, quote unquote, I was just, she wasn't really strict like that. Yes, I went to church with her on Sunday, but she wasn't strict. She let me kind of do whatever I wanted to do. So that led into me going to parties a lot and me getting drunk a lot and me doing stupid stuff a lot. I could see now, because of where I'm at, how that negatively impacted me, because you know, sobriety is an important thing. If it wasn't for, if it just wasn't for me having a goal in mind of trying to graduate high school, I definitely could have easily slid into a more negative place than where I was already at. Because partying, drinking, getting drunk, that's not a life to live. You're numb and you're not really living at that point. You're walking around not really alive. You're just the walking dead, basically. Structure is important, even if it's in a guided way, I guess. Exactly. Structure is super important. Structure is super important. And growing up, I wish I had more structure, but that wasn't the reality. So moving past that, so yes, I ended up graduating high school. Went super hard in school because again, it was half of my senior year and half of my junior year for my car accident. So I had to do all that in one semester. All praises to the Most High. I was able to do it, and I graduated high school. And I was like, people are like, there was something that somebody had said to me a long time ago when I was living with my foster parents. You're never gonna be nothing. All you're gonna do is lay on your back and have babies and so on and so forth. So I made it a point in my mind. That I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna graduate. So at this time, I'm in school to prove a point. It wasn't because I wanted to go. It's because I'm trying to prove a point. I'm going to tell y'all, you ain't going to tell me about me. Da, 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 you know, that ghetto mindset. So I went to college, to community college. I think I did 2 semesters until I was working at a hotel. I was doing night auditing. I ended up finding that job from a girl that I was going to school with at the time. That's a whole story. I'm not even gonna get into it. But yeah, she helped me get a job at this hotel. And I stayed for 2 semesters, and then like after just kind of busting my butt to just get grades, and like I didn't really have no purpose. I really didn't want to be a nurse because that was my first major. I wanted to be a nurse. And I was like, I'm going to go back to Arizona. I'm getting my stuff and I'm leaving. So I got my stuff together. I moved in with my sister's foster parent in Arizona. And it was nice. It was nice for a little while. I got a job at Amazon. I was working really, really hard. I was working the night shift, overnight. I didn't have a car, so I would have to take the bus at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. The bus wouldn't be there by the time I got off, so I had to wait an extra hour. And then I ended up meeting this dude at work who would give me rides from our job to my house on a motorcycle. That was the first time I've ever been on a motorcycle. Super scary. And it's crazy because we remained friends for a little while we were working at Amazon. Like, we were just cool. It wasn't nothing. It was no type of lustful relationship. It was just weird. And at least not on my end. Not like that. I'm like, you know, you got a motorcycle, you cool and everything. We could be friends. That's basically it. But yes, I worked at Amazon. And then after the holiday season was over, I got laid off. And then I ended up moving. Some stuff ended up happening, and my sisters went back into foster care. I got kicked out of my sister's foster mother's house. And I ended up moving in with someone who, you know, I had just started to, like, you know, talk to in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, yes. He was just basically like a boyfriend, you know, someone who I really didn't know, but he allowed me to live with him. And I stayed with this person for 3 years. All I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna go into detail on that relationship, but all I'm gonna say is definitely don't waste time seeking. It just the whole thing just didn't make sense. I didn't really like him like that, but I knew that I needed somewhere to stay. And so you'll make something work if it's gonna benefit you. She said, through your life, did you ever feel alone with fake family, etc.? Of course I felt alone. I even like, of course, they're not your real family, so they don't really have an understanding of where you come from and your core beliefs and what made you you. They don't know any of that. So it's kind of like they're going off of their own understanding as to, like, okay, so this girl's in my house, and they don't really see the trauma. They don't see the trauma that got you to where from point A to point B. So yes, it's trippy. That's all I can really say on that. It's tough, and it's not. I wouldn't put that on anyone. If I could be a foster mother in the distant or near future, I definitely wouldn't mind helping some children out that have been through something. Yes. But yeah. So fast forward like 3 years after this relationship, you know what I'm saying? I ended up moving to Colorado. I moved to Colorado again, not for the best reasons. I was chasing behind someone, and I ended up here in Colorado. Again, things with this specific person didn't work out. And this is the same person that I was with in Arizona. He moved to Colorado, and then I moved to Colorado. And so yeah, you can't like, again, running from stuff, trying to get out of stuff doesn't work in terms of like the motivation for being with someone. It should be based on more than just, like, I want to say covetous reasons. You know what I'm saying? It should be based on more than just that. So we break up. You know, in my lonely, doing my thing. And so I ended up going to community college based on someone else that I had met. He got me in school. I stayed in school. We ended up stopped talking. I still stayed in school. I went to the University of Colorado, Denver. I majored in political science, graduated community college with my associate's degree in political science, transferred to the University of Colorado, Denver, continued political science, really realized how racist this country truly is. And it's crazy because I ended up meeting someone on this Zoom call right now. Her name is Janice. You know, me at this time, I'm like a full-blown activist. Like, I'm just like, I'm gonna go off on you. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you claim that you're trying to benefit the Black community, so to speak. Yes. So at this time, I met Janice. on campus, and Okay, I'm sorry, I'm throwing it back. I met her on campus and we start talking and she was like, girl, you're not Jewish. I'm like, I'm not Jewish? How you gonna tell me I'm not Jewish? And so she ended up, she's like, you're not Jewish, you're a Jew, you're an Israelite, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm an Israelite. Okay, that I was like, at that time, like for some reason, when she just said the word Israelite, it sparked something inside of me. I'm like, I'm an Israelite. Hold up. The Jews live in Israel. How am I an Israelite? Da, da, da. So I go to school or whatever. And so I'm super happy. I was happy to be there. But y'all, when I say I was ratchet, the most ratchet sister, the way that other people come in and the way I came in is different. So I came in there thinking like feminism is the way and ain't no man gonna tell me what to do and yada, yada, yada. So I'm at the school. And she's like, girl, write your question down on a piece of paper and pass it up to front. So I write my question on the piece of paper and I pass it to and then he's reading the question and he's like kind of going in on the question. And like, I'm like, well, first of all, this is what I meant and yada, 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 yada. I'm just going off. And so, yes, all praises for forgiveness. That's all I always say. And mercy. Anyway, so he addressed my question. He didn't really tell me that it was wrong for me to speak out of turn. And then this for maybe another 2 months, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie to you. And then there's a question. That's a question in the comments. Oh, hold on. I went in the wrong area. So, how were you an activist? Okay, I'm gonna answer both of these questions. I was an activist in the sense that, okay, so I in political science, which was my major. We focused on like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, things of that nature. Not specifically Marcus Garvey, but specifically like movements that have happened. The Black Panthers Party, all those different types of movements gone on around the world, just decolonization, colonialism, and things like that. So at that point, I realized that white people have been oppressing us for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I'm like, you're not gonna sit up here. We went over color blindness and I was like, oh no, they see color. Even blind people see shades and yada yada. Like I was really going in. So there was this stand, like this thing at our school talking about color blindness. Are you colorblind? And can you explain? And I walk up and this white lady's like, I'm colorblind. I don't see color. I don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. So I'm walking up on her and I'm just like, what you mean you don't see color, girl? You see color. If you saying you don't see color, you don't see my brothers and sisters going to jail, dying out, being gunned down by the police, X, Y, and Z. And I don't think just kind of froze. She didn't have really, it was just kind of like, this Black girl is really going off on me like this. So she walked away, but this other dude who was super Christian-y, like he was like, well, it's all about love, sis, and yada, yada, yada. Sis Janice, do you want to touch on that real quick? You were there.
Oh my gosh. So there was a whole bunch of white people just standing around thinking they were colorblind. And, I wasn't really like yelling because, I was trying to be discreet and be like, hey, we the real Jews, no faking. And so there's this white dude. And okay, Sister Sarai was talking about some Canaanites, and she was like, which we learned now that he is Cain, but that is a whole nother thing. But she asked him, like, are you a Canaanite? And he was like, no, I'm not a Canaanite. I was like, you Esau, right? You Esau. And he was like, yeah, I am, but I want to help. And I was just like, okay. But I kept just trying to tell her, like, we the Israelites.
Yeah, so again, at this time, that was my activist mode, is telling white people to their face high because that's what they do to us, you know, just dog whistling it. You know, and the crazy thing about dog whistle politics is when you blow a dog whistle, only the dogs can hear it, no one else. So with racism, when there's certain racist things that are being said, it's done in a dog whistle to where, you know, we don't really hear it because to us it sounds like peace, love, unity. But in reality, it's not about peace, love, and unity amongst us. It's amongst another people don't look like us. When certain stations are had, as we've talked about in our podcast, when certain topics are talked about, guess who? We're not in the room. When it comes to things that affect the Black and brown community. Hold on, let me answer this first question. Did you ever notice when you were in your ignorance that you were wrong? Oh, yes, girl. Yes. Somebody pulled a scripture that was like, let the women learn in silence. And I was like, ooh, cut. Okay, let me tell us more about the Israelites. Ooh, hold up. Let me ask, but I cannot say his name every time. But Smiley, okay, yes, sir, you. Smiley, yes.
Bartholomew.
Just say Bart. Bart is cool. Bart is okay. It's
Bart.
acceptable. All right.
Bart.
So all praises for the wool. First off, the question I have is, so, you know, me being experienced with the Israelite thing, I'll call it a thing. So how does that change your thought process with being an activist? Or do you still consider yourself an activist? Because we both understand that a certain portion of that isn't going to change because it's prophecy that it is the way it is.
Right. I do still consider myself to be an activist because scriptures say that let your light shine before men. So me let my light shine and showing other women in a sense how it's done is me doing, is showing people the right way in a sense. It's like you can't really be an activist unless you activate. Like it's something that I was speaking to someone yesterday that's a psychologist or a person. He does it professionally. It's like some things are not that deep. Some stuff isn't just that you don't have to constantly be in people's face yelling, telling them, you know, other than, you know, cry loud and spare not. Me being a woman, there's a way for me to do that. And that's just to let my light shine and tell my sisters, you know, and not you, there's a difference in between being judgy and then judging righteously. I'm just kind of like, okay, I used to smoke weed. I can't be smoking weed and tell you to stop smoking weed because that's hypocritical. But I could say that I stopped smoking weed and I know what that does to you and that you should stop because I've stopped. It's easier to take that that judgment or to hear what I'm saying rather than me doing it and telling you not to do it. It's kind of like when parents say, do as I say and not as I do, that it doesn't work like that. You have to be the example. So that's the thing, like me being the activist that I am, I'm example. You have to look past activists, other leaders, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. You know, we both know that Martin Luther King led us into a burning house. Malcolm X, yes, you know, he had a lot of good, valid points and everything he said was, you know, good and well, but at the end, he wasn't doing it the right way. And that's what led to his early, unfortunately. He did a lot for yes. So I still consider myself to be a bitch, just in a different way. Each and every one of us keeping these commandments and doing what we need to do are activists because we're changing ourselves and you know, being the example. And you know that's that chant that some of us used to sell drugs, but we don't do it anymore. So that we're the example, so that we're all out here. Yes.
All right. So,
but
can I?
go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. Let me ask a follow-up question. So, how long? It's kind of based on how long were you an activist before you found out you were a true Jew?
A true Jew. A true Jew. I can't say it either. A true
Yeah, a
Jew.
true Jew.
Okay, I
Yeah.
was maybe an activist for maybe like, I would say 6 months, a year, 6 months to a year. I would be in my classes, you know, because I would be the only Black girl in almost all my classes, even in community college and political science. So I would be like, people will be looking to me for the Black perspective. And I'm just like, all right. So let me tell y'all how it is for Black people, for real, for real. Because for me personally, I grew up in real poverty. And a lot of my friends and stuff, they ended up going to prison and or jail and are still locked up till this day. So I'm kind of like, y'all can't really tell anyone, especially a Black person, about what it's like for their families and things like that, people that are actually affected by mass incarceration, about incarceration and what that does to people. Y'all read a book about incarceration and y'all think y'all know everything, but y'all don't. And it's kind of like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, I would say I was an activist for maybe like, I would say maybe like 4 years prior to me two or 3 years prior to me coming into the truth. But yes,
Okay.
before I realized I was a Jew, an actual Jew.
True Jew.
A true Jew. True Jew. Okay, and to answer this other question, let me go back to it. So she said, tell us about the Israelites. So just kind of, you know, touching on it. I'm not gonna go too deep because, you know, we can't teach, so on and so forth. But I'll say this. There are generational curses and circumstances that will touched with, you know what I'm saying, that we all have to deal with. That's us living in the worst communities, us having to lean on the government for everything. That's housing, that's food, that's everything. Jobs, we're the last hired and the first fired. Where there's always job insecurity in the Black community. We're always the ones that fill up the prisons. We're the ones that fill up the homeless shelters. We're the ones that fill up the Social Security office. We're the ones that fill up all these different avenues and revenues and all this stuff of governmental incentives, leaning on those and having to depend on people that really truly hate us, that used to lynch us and do us dirty for hundreds and hundreds of years. And now that, you know, slavery was so long ago, and just so y'all know, slavery wasn't that long ago. My great grandmother, Claire May Alfred, who I knew and who I loved very, very much, she experienced slavery. So slavery was only like 2 generations ago, but we think that it's just so long ago, and we're all living in this land that we were led captive in. We're still we never went back to wherever the hell we came from. Long story short, we never went back. We're still here. So when you say slavery is over, you are really in denial if you don't know anything about the 13th Amendment. All your brothers and sisters that are in jail or prison right now, people that are on probation, they're living in slave conditions. That's slavery right there. Slavery is only legal if you break the law. You go to prison or jail. So slavery is still very real, and it's still a very real thing. The Israelites, Israel, y'all, if you want to know anything about the Israelites, read Deuteronomy 28. Read Deuteronomy 28, and you start to read about the blessed what happen if you keep the commandments, but then you start to read them curses. You read them curses about how your children will be taken away from you and given onto another people. I don't know how many people's kids have been taken from them, but I know that Native American people, their kids were put in Indian schools. I know that Black people during slavery, our kids were taken from us and sold to a whole nother person, and we didn't see them, and there was no might in our hands. I know that Hispanics are definitely going through that right now, and they went through that in the past. Their kids are being put in cages, and it's on the news. Like, what the hell? Y'all don't see that? I see that. Yes, the Israelites. Read Deuteronomy 28. And then after you actually read that, you'll be like, nobody else really was on slave ships and was sold to another people. Hold up, who is that? Slavery is in the Bible, y'all, documented and recorded. Yes. So that's all I'm gonna say about the whole Israeliteness. I'm an Israelite. I realize that, and I'm an Israelite with the education. There's a lot of people in Israel that are keeping the laws of God, that know that they're Israelites who come from various backgrounds, people from rough backgrounds, and people that are on the more prestigious side of Israel, like people that were in the NBA and NFL. So yes, shout out to Officer Gadaliah. Okay. Anyway, um, how would you persuade people to join the Israelites? If you want to change your conditions and you want to realize who you truly are, not being labeled with what our oppressors gave us as being black. Black is not a nationality, and there's no country on the whole face of the planet called black. And even African American, those people in Africa, a lot of them, unfortunately, we do have some brothers and sisters in Africa, but the people that sold us to white people, if you ask them about us, and why didn't nobody ever try to come over here and get us? Why didn't anybody try to take up arms and try to come get us? Nobody did that. So if you want to reverse the curses, the best way to do that is keep the commandments. Your life will not get worse by doing that. It actually gets better. So I'll praise the Most High for that. What's your favorite part of being an Israelite? Woo, that's a good one. Woo, that's a good question. Okay, this girl's been throwing out these good questions, boy. So my favorite part about being an Israelite, my favorite part, my brothers and sisters, honestly. I lost a lot coming into the truth because my sisters really, they're like, you're crazy. My sister told me that she hates she's like, that Israelite shit, I hate that shit. And I'm just kind of like, wow, like you don't know the first thing about it, but you hate it. It's just kind of like, the best part of it is the people that I've gained. I really didn't have family before realizing who I am according to the scriptures, but I have way more family now. I have Janice over there. I don't know if she's picking her scab or something, but I have Janice over there. I have mothers and fathers in this truth. I never really had a dad, you know what I'm saying? But I have men, mighty men that are actually doing what they got to do, taking care of their families and stuff like that, that are willing to step up to the plate and be a father to the fatherless. Mothers, women doing that Titus 2, teaching women how to love their husbands, teaching us how to properly do hygiene, properly cook, properly do, X, Y, and Z. I didn't really get that in the Christian church. And I definitely didn't get that before I came into the truth. And not only that, but if a man wants to ever consider being with me, in any type of way, he has to do it in righteousness. Don't think that this is like a what I call it, a fornication fest, like this is some type of party over here. What, Jenny? Say it on the mic. Say it. I can hear you outside of the thing. Okay, she's at my house. But anyway, so yes, it's a hedge of protection, the commandments, and God really fights for you when you're keeping the commandments. And it took for me for so long, when that light goes off in your head, like, aha, that's what's going on. You're just like, damn, like I should have been doing this whole time, but all praises, I'm doing it now. But I don't know. Like that breath of life truly enters into you and you stand on your feet and you're just like, bruh, I can see everything. You get the spirit of discernment where you're able to discern a situation. You're just like, you really think you're going to play me like that? Like, I don't see what you're trying to do, but I see exactly what you're doing. It's crazy. So yes, that's any other questions, y'all? Because it is 7:51, so we entered into the question portion of this vast. Mark, I could see you. I see a spiritual hand, brother.
Let's see. I know because I've asked you, many questions for it. I guess so. Since joining the truth, what has been a notable or maybe your favorite experience?
Ooh, that's a good question too. Okay. My favorite experience was Passover. Man, I remember my very first Passover. I was in Europe, y'all. I was doing study abroad and I was in Germany. And number one, Germany was a very weird experience because I was not able to congregate or nothing. Like there was I couldn't see my fellow people with fringes on. I'm in Germany walking around just looking at everybody's clothes. Like, where's the fringes at? None. Could not find one person. But then Passover came and I went to England for Passover, and like seeing like so many different people from all over Europe and all over like that side of the hemisphere just dressed up in their royal garments and getting down. We listening to the scriptures, learning about like what happened in Exodus, and I'm just like, this is crazy. This is crazy because like we truly, there's a scripture that says we'll be like under the curses, right? We'll be scattered all over. And like when you see all your brothers and sisters that are truly scattered all over, you're like, wow, I never thought I would see this many Black people keeping the commandments ever. And I didn't realize that there was this many Black people keeping the commandments. When I was in Colorado, yes, I went to different schools. I went to the Arizona school, different schools. But like when you leave your country and you see people still doing the same thing, keeping the commandments, it changes your whole mindset. So yes, my favorite experience was definitely Passover 2019, I believe, 2019. Wait, yeah, 2019. Yeah, I had to think about that. I was like, hold up, what year was this? Because time be flying, y'all. Y'all don't even understand. Go ahead, Janice.
So being able to like experience that whole thing and going to a bigger school, because our school's small, what's kind of the main thing you took away from that experience, meeting all those brothers and sisters with them accents and stuff like that? What else did you gain from that experience?
You learn about slavery and how slavery really impacted our people and how we were truly like taken to different places. We're the same people, just in different countries. When I went to the Netherlands, for example, I didn't know anything about what Germany had did in South Africa to our forefathers and our brothers and sisters in Africa, and how they were chopping people's hands off and stuff. I knew nothing about Shark Island, nothing about that genocide. But then when I actually went there and you have brothers and sisters that are woke, that know what's going on, and they're telling you like, look, sis, these people are evil no matter where you go. I'm just like, oh my God, this is real. This is super real. So, and there's historical data to back it up. It's not just because a lot of people think that, the Bible is a fictional book and it's not real and so on and so forth. Well, tell me why Deuteronomy 28 is still affecting us till this day. Like that dude said in that video, till this day, it's affecting us till this day. So, and there's just like, again, there's historical and there's historical text, context that gives us clues as to who the Israelites truly are. Other people know, we just don't know. So just to throw that out there. Go ahead, Bart. Bartholomew.
Right. So you seem very enthusiastic about talking about being an Israelite and your experiences with that. So if you were preparing someone to come into a congregation, what would you tell them the bad thing is, and how do you prepare for that bad thing?
Ooh, that's a deep question. Damn. You realize how messed up you truly are For real. That is and I can't even really say that that's a bad thing, because the scriptures tell us to self-examine, to examine ourselves whether we be in the faith. And then you realize that there's moments where you actually have the devil on you. And you're just like, bruh, I'm wicked as hell. And I can't even say that that's a bad thing. It's bad to have the devil on you, and it's bad to be wicked as hell. But to realize that, you think you're walking uprightly this whole time and you're doing what you need to do according to the scriptures, and then you find out that, it's not as cookie cutter as you thought it was. And it's that realization that I would say is like the quote unquote bad part, to know that you're not doing your part and that you're not living right at all. Even if you're not, affiliated with drugs, you're not affiliated with gangs, you're not affiliated with the nightlife, you're not affiliated with this, or you're not affiliated with that. But then you're like, okay, so I cook on Saturday. Hold up. I smoke weed. Hold up. The world's telling me that weed is legal. We live in Colorado. Everybody smokes weed. I used to smoke weed, but the thing is, that self-examination piece, I would be coming to the school, under the influence. And then one day I just hear them talk about, hold up, you got to be sober minded. I'm like, hold up. Nobody told me this. Why didn't anybody ever say anything? Oh, shut up, Janice. Shut up, Janice. Anyway. Yes. And yes, we are destroyed. We're destroyed as a people, because not only do we not have knowledge of self, what? Not only do we not have knowledge of self, but we don't have knowledge of our heritage and where we truly come from, which is, Jerusalem. And then you start to wonder, well, who the hell are those people that are living in Israel right now? And that's a whole nother thing. You gotta, that's a gem that I'm not willing to share with nobody right now. But yeah, so I just think that yeah, we are truly destroyed. Anybody got any more questions? Because I'm running out at this point. Janice, you got something to say. I could see it in your face.
Listen, all I gotta say is that I did tell you. I don't know, an officer time. I mean, I'm not gonna say his name, but he told you as well. So
when he gave me the scripture, girl, I stopped. Like I went cold. I went cold turkey. It was hard for me at first. I'm not even gonna lie. It was hard for me. But I did it. And hey, it's been almost 2 years now.
3 years, yeah.
Girl.
Whew.
Okay.
Bartholomew, you have another question?
No, I was clapping. All praise.
But yes.
Yes, indeed. So as we conclude, I want to say thank you again, Sis Tabitha Sarai. So here at MACM, we like to conclude with just a final nugget, final token, just a final piece of advice you could leave us with.
Oh, I was ready to snap. My advice is, it's not even okay. So it's easy to examine it's easy to examine other people, but it's never easy to examine yourself. So before you are quick to cast judgment on someone else, think, do I do this? Because if you do that, that makes you a hypocrite. And according to the scriptures, you need to cast the mote out of your own eye before you behold the beam that is in your brother or your sister's eyes. So think about yourself, examine yourself, and seek out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me again. My first story time was not the best. So thank you for letting me do it again.
Absolutely. Always good to hear you. Well, you were already on it. So we'll do the 3 snaps to thank our guests. Just on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.